Any of y'all know what we have in common up here? Can anybody see what we got in common with these things up here? All I hear is... Um, this doesn't mean that I just sit in my office while everybody else cleans and does work. Okay, that's not what it means. The similarity that we have up here is if we're not careful, we can really easily overlook it, but everything's got wheels. Everything's got wheels. So are you one of those people that if it has wheels on it, you got to ride it? You know what I'm saying? I'm like breaking things, and I'm not even meaning to. Anybody like that? It was really a minority last Sunday or last service too. Let's see hands of people. If there's wheels on it, you got to ride it. Does that mean the rest of you are concerned for your well-being? I don't do skateboards because the old adage, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, and that is true. There's truth to that statement. I'm living proof. Well, I think that, just hang with me for a minute. I think wheels are fascinating. I don't know who it was. Somebody in here probably knows some obscure history of the person that created the wheel. I don't, because I just haven't done the research on it. But nonetheless, a wheel makes our life a lot easier, right? It's one of those things that we take for granted every day. Many of you drove your car here. I bet you didn't say, man, Lord, thank you for my tires. If we didn't have tires, I'm sure there'd be something else round, but nonetheless, I don't know that this is something that we say thank you for too often. It seems like anything that's been created, we put wheels on it. We try it. Like a board existed, and then somebody's like, let's put some wheels on it to help us move it. And then let's see how, hey, I'm sure they did this down south. Hey, Bubba, watch this. Let's see how long I can stand on it while we roll it. Let's call it a skateboard, And so I tried skateboarding, and it didn't go well with me, so I stopped. So skateboards, that wasn't enough. They actually changed the direction of the wheels, and then they created the hoverboard, right? So that's good fun to watch on YouTube, all the people that have no business on those things wiping out. Does anybody else get enjoyment on that, like watching people fall? Anybody else sick like me? Okay. Wheels are pretty fascinating. I'm going to list off some things, see if this resonates with you. We put them on chairs because clearly the chair just having legs isn't enough. We have to have wheels to help us push the chair away from the table because it's just so much work pushing the chair back, right? And you can say it saves floors, but you can just put padding on them. So I think we're just looking for the easy way out. We put them on tables. We even put them in shoes. Y'all remember the things where you just lift your toes up and kids are just like scooting around the hallway? Never had those either because I enjoy my life. Coolers, I saw something the other day. You're like, well, that's old news. Coolers have had wheels for a long time. I saw somebody in here posted remote control coolers. I thought that was fascinating. So it's like a Barbie car except for a cooler with a stereo in it, and you can just remote control beverages to people to help them be even more lazy. You need a drink? Don't worry, I'll bring it to you. I won't even move, and I'm going to get you a drink. When you go to the grocery store, what do you grab to put stuff in? Shopping cart. You know what Summer calls them? Buggies. Yeah, buggies. That's a southern thing. Buggies are actually drawn by horses, by my understanding. So, nonetheless, I've been married to her for almost 18 years, and so I call them buggies too now. Dollies, there's different types of dollies. You have appliance dollies and furniture dollies that come in handy and make things easier. Some doors, depending on what kind of door you have, doors have wheels, drawers, cabinets, crates, trash cans even. I mean, we have 2 different kind of trash cans at home that we take out to the road. Y'all have those that you just wheel out to the highway, they take it up and all that kind of stuff, so our trash cans. Without wheels, a trailer is a sled, right? So without wheels, you're dragging, and with wheels, you're rolling. Okay. So essentially, anything that you want to move or have transported with less effort, just put wheels on it, is what it comes down to. There is a point to this, I promise. This morning, if you're into making notes and into writing stuff down, wheels, weight, worship. We're going to go through some scriptures that have to do with those three words. And when I say wait, it's not you're waiting on somebody. It's I've got to lose some weight, that weight. Okay? Wheels, wait, and worship. Y'all go ahead and start turning to 2 Samuel chapter 6. We're going to go through a very heavy and compact section of verses. I want to set the scene for us so that we know what we're diving into. Saul was the first selected, elected, voted on king, and the nation of Israel wanted a king because they noticed other nations having kings, and they're like, well, they seem to have their act together. Why don't we be like them? Even though God has done everything for us so far, we still feel like we need a king. And so Saul became king, and he was super dysfunctional. He is the definition of, if you're into new words, I learned this like a number of years ago, but it's a fun one to say, hubris, which is just being prideful. He is the definition of being hubris, and his understanding and his approach to life quickly shifted. And at one point, he was the anointed king, and then he did something very irresponsible, very careless, and then the anointing left him, though he still functioned as king, and God chose David to be king. So then David starts to have success in his life. Literally, he killed a bear and a lion with his hands. That doesn't happen unless you are empowered by the living God. I don't care who you are. And he has all this favor. He wins wars. He can handle business, and he worships. He writes songs. He's a man after God's heart. Well, there was tension between David and Saul. Saul tries to kill David. David flees and lives with his enemy, the Philistines. And he's just basically waiting for something to happen to Saul before he becomes king. And while living in the nation of his enemy, he goes into his own land. This is what it says of him in 1 Samuel, that it was his custom to go around the villages and handle business, meaning not leave anything living as far as humans are concerned, but take all the plunder. Doesn't sound very godly, but God gave him the approval to go do those things, which leads me to believe that those communities were adversely against God. There's just not, he's not like, I just missed the feeling of a sword going through somebody, so let's just go that direction. That's not how it was. So here we are. Saul dies. Actually, he takes his own life, and his sword bearer does the same. And David is now the king. And it goes in a progression where he's selected as a king over a certain tribe, and then in time he becomes the king of the nation of Israel. And we come into the story at this point when he has established the city of David, and he realizes that something is missing, something very significant to the children of Israel. And he goes on search and finds out where the Ark of the Covenant is, the Ark of the Testimony, the literal physical representation of the presence of God. He finds out where it is. This is the story that we're going to read this morning. Are you all with me? This is good stuff this morning. I'm going to read the whole chapter, so you all just settle in with me, and we'll read this together. This is out of the NIV. David again brought together out of Israel chosen men, 30,000 in all. Imagine Amherst times 3, okay? The city limits of Amherst times 3. All of those people gathered together. He and all of his men set out from Baal of Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim that are on the ark. They set the ark of God on a new cart. Y'all say new cart. They set the ark on a new cart and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were guiding the new cart, with the ark of God on it, and Ahio was walking in front of it. Now pause for 1 second. 1st and 2nd Samuel, for the most part, are written by the prophet Samuel. Fitting that it's called that. So when Samuel was little, like a little boy, he remembers the Ark of the Covenant being carted off by the Philistines. They knew that that would be like a black eye to the nation of Israel, so they take what was precious to them and bring it into their own land for only 7 months. Because everywhere that the ark landed, whatever city it landed, people broke out in nasty diseases, like flesh-eating diseases, boils, and all this kind of gross stuff to talk about, right? Anybody? I won't even ask the question. Okay. But nasty stuff started happening to them. They're like, we don't want this anymore. You take it, that city over there. And so nobody wanted it. So they brought it back to Israel. And Abinadab, in this area, he's the one that it was given to him. And so since Samuel was a little boy, Samuel is very old at this point. That whole duration, we could range anywhere from 40 to 50 years. It's been stowed away at Abinadab's house. And so Uzzah and Ahio walked around this ark all the time and had become accustomed to it being on their property. From what I could tell, there was no mentioning of God's favor resting on their place, nor was there any mentioning of boils breaking out or skin diseases happening, none of that. It just was dormant, which I think is interesting. Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were guiding the new cart with the ark of God on it, and Ahio was walking in front of it. David and the whole house of Israel were celebrating with all their might. Sounds good so far, right? They're celebrating with all their might before the Lord with songs and with harps and lyres and tambourines and sistrums and cymbals. When they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah, I presume that he's the older brother because he's mentioned first. That's how they would do it in the Bible. Uzzah reached out and took hold of the ark of God because the oxen stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore, God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzzah, and that place to this day is called Perez Uzzah. David was afraid of the Lord that day. David was afraid of the Lord that day. Fear. How can the ark of the Lord ever come to me, he said. He was not willing to take the ark of the Lord to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months, and the Lord blessed him and his entire household. Now King David was told, the Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and everything he has because of the ark of God. So David went down and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing this time. When those who were carrying the ark, we'll come back to that. When those who were carrying the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he, being David, sacrificed a bull and a fattened calf. David, wearing a linen ephod, which is not much clothing, danced before the Lord with all his might, while he and the entire house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouts and the sound of trumpets. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. She didn't say anything. She just had this anger and seething frustration boiling inside of her. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it in its place in the tent that David had pitched for it, and David sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings before the Lord. After he had finished sacrificing burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord Almighty. Then he gave them a loaf of bread and a cake of dates and a cake of raisins to each person in the whole crowd of the Israelites, both men and women. And all the people went to their homes. Y'all hanging with me? We're almost there. Y'all good? This is good stuff. When David returned home to bless his household, Michal, or Michal, however you want to say it, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would." David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me to rule over the Lord's people, Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. I will become even more undignified than this, and I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor." And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. Boom. There's so much going on here. And we're going to try to pack it all in one service. Y'all ready? New cart. Y'all say new cart. New cart's got some wheels on it. It's got that new cart smell, you know? Just picked it up from the dealership. They're like, "Oh man, the lacquer is still wet. It smells so good. It's a new cart. Let's go get the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant on this new cart." What's striking to me, well, here's some important pieces of this narrative. David knew many things about God, but he missed an important piece of how to carry or walk with the presence of God in this way. Now, he walked and talked with God all the time, and God empowered him, anointed him, all of these different things. But this is different. He's aware of the ark. But what is this whole cart thing? It's mentioned twice. They brought a new cart, put the ark on the new cart, and Ahio and Uzzah were leading the oxen with the ark on the new cart. What's with the new cart? I think that this reveals a little bit of the heart of not only David, but also the people. You see, why do we put wheels on things? We talked about this moments ago. We put wheels on things to make life easier. We put wheels on things to make better time. Let's just stop right there. As it pertains to this story, you know, I found that time is somewhat important to God, but His time matters most. We get so wrapped up about time. We got to get there quickly, got to do this quickly. And we don't understand that God is a God who's outside of time. And so He wants us to use our time wisely. And some might commend David for being creative and providing a new cart to get the presence of God to the city of David quicker. When in reality, it shows a lack of reverence. You see, we cart our relationship with God around for convenience. We want to cart Him into a problem that we have. We want to cart Him into a certain dilemma or cart Him into a need. We just hurry up, get God in it, let's get what we want, and then we can cart Him away. And it exposes some grossness to the nature of humanity. We got a new cart for the ark so that we can get there quicker. And God's like, at the mentioning of a cart, you're missing this. You've missed it. Now, it seems like things are going really well, like God's still just allowing them to go on with their plans, their process. Let's dance and sing. We've got every instrument imaginable, and we're making this noise. 30,000 people. We had our Up Next meeting last Sunday, and it was a party. Y'all, I mean, if y'all saw the picture, it was a party up in here, but it pales in comparison to the throwdown that was happening, bringing the Ark of the Covenant into the city of David. 30,000 people, instruments like crazy, shouts, dancing. It's all looking good. We're going to get to the city of David quicker with the presence of God so that we will be blessed by it. This thought's not original to me, but I think it was Francis Chan that said, and he might not even be original to him, but imagine what heaven's going to be like, right? I mean, imagine perfection. Imagine pure peace, pure love, new heaven, new earth. Imagine all of that. Now, imagine that without God's presence. Would you be content? And the point being, we have a tendency to rush into the benefits of our good God rather than just being with our good God. We want His benefits. We want His favor more, I think, than we just want Him. You grab a cart. I mean, God sees right through it. You're not getting a cart so that you can wheel me into the city of David because you just desperately want me. You just desperately want what you can get from me. Now, this next part is so crazy to me. Uzzah, the oldest, his name means strength. I would imagine that he's a strapping man. I don't know, maybe in his 40s or so, still healthy. His younger brother is leading the oxen, and they come to this threshing floor, and one of the oxen stumbles. That's kind of a bum deal. God doesn't strike down the ox. Why? Because the ox doesn't have a conscience, or doesn't know from right to wrong, or it doesn't, the thought process, anyways, there's a difference between animals and mankind, okay? Here's the absurdity of the moment. 30,000 people surrounding this ark, and they're walking with the ark on a new cart. And these two brothers who have spent their life walking around, I don't know if they had it stowed away in a barn. They're like, hey, did you walk by it? Did you dust it off? Or, it was covered more than likely because that would be appropriate. But they knew that it was on their property. But they spent their life around this. So it seemed fitting that these two brothers who housed or kept the Ark of the Covenant would help them bring it to where it would rest. And so they're walking, and they're probably just taking in the scene of these droves of people that are here for this, that's been in their garage. The ox, or both of them, stumble a little bit, and so Uzzah sees the oxen stumble, and then he looks immediately at the ark, and it's starting to rattle, and it tips. And then it says this, that he placed his hands on it. He reached out and took hold of the ark. Now, he's not a priest. He is a Levite. All Levites, a priest couldn't be a priest unless they were a Levite. He was of the Levite tribe. He just wasn't a priest. The ark rattles a little bit, and he puts his hand out and braces it. God, I got you. I got your back. You need me right now. I got you. This is such a painful lesson for this man. That lasts for a moment because then he dies. But no, I'm good. I don't know if there's horns or stringed instruments. Hold up, wait a minute, Uzzah just bit it bad. I don't know what they start singing or what just happened? God, I got you. God, I got you. I was thinking about this. What would have happened if he would have let it go? The lid falls off. They see the 10 Commandments. They see Aaron's budding staff. They see this jar of manna, bread, heaven bread. And again, I imagine the music would have stopped, oh my gosh. No, they didn't. Those two brothers done messed up. Oh. Who knows what would have happened? We don't get that story. We get this. God, you need me right now. Let me help you out. Okay, I got you, bud. I got you. So I started thinking about this. I was like, does God need me? Anytime that we try to convince him that he needs us, it will lead us to arrogance. Like, God, you need me to be alive, to be a light to other people. Nah, I don't know that he does. Because with or without me, his light's still going to shine. He's still God. He still created everything that we look at, the stars, the moon, the sun. I mean, everything that you look at. Look at the ocean. Look at everywhere you look. Just look. He doesn't need us. He wants us. And sometimes we slip into this mode of, God, I got you. You need me to be your good representative for your name's sake. You need me. Because your popularity is starting to fall off the cart. Your power is being questioned. Your ability is being questioned. You need me. No. He just pulls the plug on Uzzah. Uzzah drops. Party stops. I mean, bring a whole new definition to drop the beat, you know what I'm saying? David freaks out. I mean, he's in his kingly garment just dancing like crazy with all of his might. And I don't know if he was like, I don't know what dance moves he was doing. I just know that he was dancing with all of his might. He sees Uzzah drop dead, and then he's like, hold up, everybody. Hang on a second. And then it says that he gets angry at God's anger. David was angry because of the Lord's wrath. Wait a minute, we're bringing your presence in on a new cart. Yeah, you are. That's messed up. And this guy right here, he done messed up. And then he got frustrated. I think he got frustrated not only just at God's wrath poured out on Uzzah, but then he got frustrated that he couldn't bring the ark into his city. He's like, well, if this happens to somebody who touches it for a good cause, then I can't bring that into the city of David. We're going to die. And I don't know who Obed-Edom is. I don't know if David had it out for him. Hey, where's Obed-Edom? You're taking the ark. And so David, he's king, and so Obed-Edom's like, at your service, king. Thanks. Unfriending you today. It's interesting that they don't specify the way that they take it to his house. I would presume it was not on the cart. Maybe it was. I don't know. We just know that it ends up there. And immediately. By the way, let me just say this about the two brothers. This is worth writing down. Familiarity without reverence is deadly. Those two brothers, Uzzah and Ahio, had become familiar with something without being reverent of it, which was fatal for Uzzah. God wants us to know him, but if we try to be familiar with him without reverence, it's a death sentence. It is. Obed-Edom, the Gittite, takes it. It's at his house for 3 months. Verse 11. And the Lord blessed him and his entire household. How do you go from death to blessing? Is God bipolar? Like, what is up? No. God sees heart. Humanity is bipolar. There's a verse that's written on our wall, Jesus Christ the same, yesterday, today, and forever. He's solid. He's more solid than we will ever be. Blessing immediately pours out on Obed-Edom's house. It says in a little bit more verbiage that everything that he has was blessed. Man, our crops are coming in. Our livestock looks healthier than it did even from a week ago. How does that happen, the blessing of God? Like, my family's full of joy. There's peace in our home. There's my sons and daughters are getting along with each other. They're a joy to be around, and there's a blessing here. Why? Because they were reverent of this ark on their property that could either bless them or kill them. David, once he gets word of this, he's like, yes! It's on now. We're good. It's doing good things. God's presence is blessing people, not killing people. But I don't think it was just this selfish attitude that he had. He goes there differently than he did the first time. And it says this, that David went down and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom. I don't know if that was sad for Obed-Edom, but nonetheless it happened, and it was taken to the city of David with rejoicing. When those who were carrying the ark, they didn't bring their new cart this time. The way the ark was constructed is there were these slots that poles would go through, and priests would come up underneath those poles and stand up with it and walk in unison. A different scene than before. They weren't about making good time. They were about worshiping their God. Reverence saturates the scene of the second commute with the ark. So much so that they had taken 6 steps. They shouldered the ark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Set it down. David sacrifices a bull and a fattened calf, demonstrating to everybody there, this venture is different than the last one. This time, we're going to walk with it. We're going to be reverent with it. Y'all, this is the presence of the living God. I even wonder what David was thinking on the way to Obed-Edom's. Like, I don't know if he had like this conversation with God, because he talked to God all the time. He wrote songs. You know, there's a relationship there. And I would presume that there was repentance. Father, I'm so sorry for carting your presence around for my convenience. I don't care what time we make. I don't care if it takes us twice the amount of time, but we're going to walk with you today, not just cart you around for my benefit. Man, how would life be different if that captured our everyday? We're guilty of the new carts in our life where we want to tote God around for our pass-by moments of like, okay, let me pull out the cart so he can give to me. Where what he really wants is for us to reverently walk with him. Celebration's a little bit different. Hang with me just a little bit longer. The celebration's a little bit different this time. The first time David went, he was dressed as a king. This time, he unrobes and goes from king to common. Now, a linen ephod, that doesn't, come up in any of our popular clothing today because nobody wears them. But it's an undergarment that priests would wear. That it was familiar a piece of wardrobe, but it was basically like this decorative cloth, and it went to about mid-thigh. And so the whole that test that you're supposed to do with your fingertips, it was approved of that. Okay, so mid-thigh. Anyways, and it was attached on the shoulders, and then some of them were attached to the side. A little breezy down there, you know what I'm saying? Just the wind would go through. And so he disrobes. And so he wasn't naked. There's some people that believe that he was like completely naked. No, he was covered. But he was down to some skivvies, if you know what I'm saying. And he dances with not even commoners, but he's dancing with slave girls of his servants. From a distance, his wife, mind you, his wife is Saul's daughter. What she grew up watching as a child is an egotistical maniac who is more bent on protecting his legacy than he was serving God. There was no music in Saul's house unless he ordered it to happen. There was no overflow of song from Michael's dad. That's what she was raised with. That's why when I prayed over the dads in here at the beginning of the service, dads, start acting a fool for God in your house. Let your children and your grandchildren see that you can get out of your mind because of your love for your God. And make them feel, at least put a shirt on or something. You know, put your ephod on, just start dancing around, okay? But show some undignifiedness in your love for him. Michal didn't have that. So this whole scene is vastly foreign to her. She sees David at a distance, and it says that she despised him in her heart. She didn't say anything, but if you've ever been frustrated with somebody and you can feel the heat rising, the anger, the adrenaline of somebody who's embarrassing you. I've never done that for Summer, ever. But there's this thing that's welling up inside of her, and she hates him. She hates him for this moment. She was indignant of him. And after he blesses everybody and loads them up with all kinds of loaves and cakes and stuff, like a date cake. It sounds like a pickup line, right? Like, hey, you going to eat your date cake alone, or can we go eat it together? Never mind. Everybody must be a couple or married in here, so that didn't fly very well. Any single people, you can use it. Just go buy you a date cake and go ask somebody, okay? He blesses everybody. Then he goes to his own household to bless his home. She meets him part way. It says this, there's an exclamation mark at the end of this conversation, this greeting. Oh, how the King of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of the slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would. Good to see you too, babe. We just brought the presence of God home. Love you. She just went right for the throat. David said to Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father. That probably didn't go over so well. Or anyone from his house. The Lord chose me rather than your father, or anyone from his house, when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people, Israel. Honey, I'm going to celebrate the Lord. In fact, I'll become even more undignified than this. And I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor. I don't care what a slave girl of our servant thinks of me. I care about my heavenly dad, what he thinks of me. And listen, Michal, I tried this once before, and we tried to cart God here, and somebody died. So I'm doing it right this time, and what you just saw out there, oh, baby, you haven't seen nothing yet. I'm going to get even more undignified than that. Play that beat, DJ. And it says this about Michal. The daughter of Saul had no children to the day of her death. One way or the other, if you have no reverence, something's going to die. Uzzah, it was his life. Michal, it was her womb. People that have no reverence, dreams die. Hope dies. Peace dies. Provision dies. I think that reverence and fear go hand in hand with worship, with praise, with celebration. This morning, what I want to lead you to, or the question that I want to bring us to today, I want you to have some thought on this, because if we get too, I feel like I've been saying this, I go back through the messages just to rehear what I've said, just so I don't get too repetitive, but I'm being really repetitive on something. When we get too rigid and formal and more about the process and the production of our faith more than we do the Father of our faith and loving on Him and being with Him, when we live that rigid way, we are going on a path away from what He has intended. God is a wild God. I mean, He created music so that we could express to Him. He does things that nothing else, no one else can. And we have the privilege of being invited not only have relationship with Him, but to worship Him. Happy New Year's. If you find yourself to be somebody that carts Him around for your own benefit, I want to ask this question today. How will you become undignified for Him?